Hello, this will be a mini series about ancient. Well, not about what happened in ancient, but this is an alternate history series. Yeah, I'm chewing gum, but how did you know? The episode, the divergence is in the final siege over here. I forgot what the city's name was, but the Romans get defeated. This would allow for the Gallic armies to strike back. Gaul expands to modern Italy, and moves with this absolute defeat. Gallic troops also try to move down south, but they are stopped by other Roman legions. Caesar's death would make the Senate very happy, as he isn't that popular during this period of time. But he's still pretty popular, so many plebs would not be happy. But without Caesar, most of the invasion would fall apart. Eventually, at some point, the war would end in some form of a ceasefire, where the line would stabilize as some parts of modern-day Switzerland and France would be taken by the Romans. Now, without Caesar, Augustus might not be adopted, so he might never arise to political prowess that much, and Pompey would secure his governance. Now he would mainly so the triumvirate would basically be dead, as Pompey and Crassus would die on both invasions. Some Pompey becomes a new leader. I think Pompey. But even then, Pompey is not Caesar, even with the similarities. So I think most of his rule would be to keep his vassals loyal and let's move in and probably a smallish and a minor skirmish into Arminda. The small skirmish would start in Norwegia. Roman troops will win. This is not really a small skirmish, it's an invasion into the Dacian tribes. This is the Galician tribes, Gaeti and not Dacia. They are basically the same, but still. Thus, this Pompeian attack would make all these territories pro-Roman. The Thracians would expect something gained from as they did a massive part in the war, mainly in logistics and similar things, but they did also fight. And they would be given that with most of the Gaetia being given to them. With this part, Dacia becomes a problem. Dacia becomes a subject of the Romans. The Dacian tribes would most likely become subjects of the Romans. Now this area, which is modern-day Moldavia, would be taken over by Rome, becoming a Roman enclave, and turned into the province of Gash. Now the Roman, so with Rome, so in this timeline, Rome would have a way more eastern approach as a humiliation against the Gauls, but severely hurt their prestige. After this, some cleanup would be done in Illyria, with those tribes being centralized under Roman control. So yeah, the timeline isn't currently that wacky. With this, Pompey would have a higher chance to be Caesar than Caesar. So yeah, Pompey would be Caesar. The Caesarization of Pompey would mean some instability, as this would be way weaker for the Republic, as without Gaul and in Italy would be alone basically, and with Italian instability, any successor that would take over in order to stabilize the country would most likely form a scapegoat like Gaul for revenge for the death of Caesar. The Romans wouldn't have a negative idea of Caesar, but they wouldn't have a positive too. They would be relatively neutral in this timeline. But what would basically start this would be a war between the Romans and Parthians. The war would end in Parthian victory. The war would give polarized and subjects of Parthians, nothing really else. This humiliation would lead to the new leaders to try a new attack. This would be the Gallic Wars, the second Gallic Wars. The attack would be way more efficient, as Vercingetorix, or whatever his name was, would dictate, and the Gallic Confederation would be collapsing, as most confederations against the Romans do. And any new ideas of confederation would be mainly in Belgium. Caesar's body would be recovered. With Rome securing Gaul in this time would still secure Gaul in this time, but there wouldn't be any change as the population would be hyper unstable, even with the Caesaring of Pompey. Pompey wouldn't have any hyper charismatic successors, so yeah, maybe his children, but that would have been viewed as too much of an Eastern monarchy, so the Republican rule still continues. But the capture of Gaul would mainly be a distraction, as the Republic would be severely weakened. And though its army being controlling basically everything, the Roman period of civil wars wouldn't really change things. And any wars that happened in the east would be incredibly weaken the Romans. So they would be stuck in stalemate. Iberia would be still allies with these people, especially with Pompey. Iberia becomes a part of their sphere of influence, even though they're still technically allies. Armenia still hates the Romans and are more friendly to the Persians currently. I mean, that did change in the 1200s with the rise of the Sassanids, and even more when Armenia converted to Christianity. And in the early 4th or late 2nd and early 3rd centuries. By the way, these areas have the two oldest Christian countries that officially converted to it. Now, of course, fully against Armenia, but yes, though. Wow, I'm spending so much time yapping, but yeah. Over the continuation, so let's start with this. The Romans wouldn't be that strong either. So we could see many revolts and instabilities, which would mean many things, as many of the Roman as I think there would be any instability. So Cleopatra would have a bigger hold over Roman government, and she did commit suicide in our timeline. But in this timeline, she dies of either assassination or natural causes. Of course, that means that Rome and Egypt would be in a closer relationship. So many of the Senate would have massive debates, kind of mirroring current America with pro-Egypt or anti-Egypt. Okay, I mean America is pro-interventionism versus nationalism, but yes, still, it's similar. Along with that, during this period of time, Rhaetia Nordica or Switzerland, Austria, or Switzerland, Austria, and Pennsylvania, which is basically just Western Hungary. The area is near Budapest. This would lead to a Rome that looks similar on paper, but is incredibly different in culture. Still being pro-peace, the Roman state is neutral, but the tensions between it and its vassals grow massively. The plebs, slaves, and libertines would hate patrician control, so it's on the brink of collapse even though being a massive superpower. I hope YouTube doesn't blacklist this video if they even hear my voice. So yeah, we have most likely any particular Iberian king would most likely wouldn't really support a panic rebellion, but let's say that happened. I mean, somewhere in 50 AD, I guess. And this would end in a conquest of the territory and liberation of Caucasus, which would basically become an Iberian puppet state, and would create the symbiotic regional relationship with both countries. So yeah, with this, goodbye, and maybe see you